Andrew Forrest, welcome. Can you tell us a bit about today's agreement? How many wind turbines does $2.75 billion buy? And does this now shore up your supply chain?
Hi, David. Yes, it absolutely does. I mean, there's the first 70 here, but there'll be hundreds rolling out from this. 14 gigawatt commitment by a major 100% owned Australian company is obviously historic, even if it's a global company, but certainly the biggest in Australia. And just another wonderful turning point for every Australian to celebrate that we're moving to green and much more competitive, inexpensive energy, David, than we've ever had before. Reliable and cheap, just to argue with the cost of living which everyone is suffering.
Can I ask if there's any support under the government's capacity investment scheme, which it dramatically expanded at the end of last year, for the wind projects that you're rolling out in New South Wales?
It's not just for this project, David. What it's allowed is us to accelerate, telescope in, to accelerate the entire rollout of the minimum 14 gigawatts. We have 2022 in the pipeline, but this 14 is 1/3 of what Australia needs to reach its renewable energy target we're all cheering for. And so this comes in and buttresses that.
But what does that mean in terms of taxpayer support? Can you give us some idea of what taxpayers are on the hook for here?
Yeah, quite simple, David, that when the price goes right down, there's a floor price so we can get out and raise the capital. And when the price goes up, we repay that capital to the Australian taxpayer. So it removes a lot of the doubt and fear which is in bankers' minds. They get sowed a lot of propaganda from the fossil fuel sector trying to slow down or stop Australia's energy transition. What the CIS does is just take all the smoke and mirrors and rubbish away and just says, look, there's a floor price here, and when the price goes over the floor price, you'll repay that. It's a very clever scheme.
Now, building the wind farms is one thing. You've then got to plug them into the grid, and this is where you're getting a lot of community opposition to the transmission lines, high voltage lines that'll have to run across a lot of farmland, as you know. When do you expect the approvals for the transmission lines that are going to be needed here to be done? And can you understand some of the community concerns? Do you think there's enough compensation on offer?
So these are common community concerns which we fully expect, and for the community we'd like to lay out what comes with it. Of course, low-cost energy is one, but for the regional areas it's access to internet, which is superb, which we take for granted in cities. We don't have it in rural areas, which wind farms can really help with, apart from just bringing down the cost of energy for everybody.
Now, the federal government this week knocked back a big offshore wind terminal in Victoria over environmental concerns for local wetlands. What's your view on how to best balance the need for renewables against protecting the local environment?
What I suppose this knockback by the feds against the state of Victoria shows that those stringent conditions apply to all projects. What I would add, David, and I think this is a necessity for every Australian, for every child in the world, is we add into that approval process climate change. We all know that global warming is right upon us. You can feel the heat with impending thunderstorms, hopefully not the rain bombs we've had up and down the east coast, but you can feel it right here in Dubbo. And because of that, we're saying climate change must be taken into account in every single major development. What I see here is that this is an argument really about a location of a port as opposed to offshore wind. We don't have a dog in this race, David. Offshore wind or not, we think it's fine. Everyone else has it. We don't know why the country with the greatest offshore wind in the world wouldn't have it. But the argument is really about a port. If the port has got to be relocated, well, say la vie, so be it.
But you are saying that environmental approvals for major projects should now include some sort of consideration of the climate impact. I mean, that might stop a lot of big mining projects.
I think, and that is what we must do. I mean, if you are going to bring on a large mining project, David, which has no assessment for global warming, could pollute the hell out of the environment, you don't care. You might be fat, dumb and happy and just say, I don't care about the kids anyway, I don't really believe in global warming. It doesn't suit me to believe in global warming. So if the kids all fry, don't worry, I'll be in the grave by then. I think it's saying to all those people, actually, if you're not going to be responsible personally for the impact of your project, then it's way overdue that climate change, global warming is taken into consideration when you go out and try and build a great big project which will destroy further the environment. I think it's a very fair thing.
Today's announcement's all about wind, but you do have some pretty ambitious plans on hydrogen. I just want to get a sense of how all that's tracking. I think your goal is, or your target is, to be producing 15 million tonnes of hydrogen a year by 2030. Are you still on track to do that, or is it looking more difficult?
This is the ability to fully replace coal, oil and gas transportable fuel. And so, yes, we've got 3 projects rolling now, one in Phoenix, Arizona, 2 in Australia, green hydrogen and electrolyser, and green iron in the Pilbara. Look, David, where targets should come from is, what does the world need? What does the world need to get very low cost energy, reliable, where we're not at the hands of some extremist with a machine gun fruitcake who's got a missile on an oil and gas ship in the Red Sea, or some other muppet like Vladimir Putin who's able to impact whether or not we can send our own kids to school, whether or not we can afford the hospital bill. Those days have got to go.
You were meant to have another project signed off by the end of the year, which hasn't happened. This is the Gibson Island fertilizer plant near Brisbane that you're hoping to retrofit with clean energy for this ammonia plant. What's happening there?
We can't get those numbers to work on their high electricity prices, which are currently in Queensland. So what do? You go and address that market, you increase supply, you try and bring down those prices, and right now we can't get that project going. It's got everything else ticked off, but that oscillating energy price is stopping it, and you know, we're in discussions with the Queensland government to see if there's a way we can work that.
There's a debate within the coalition this week about whether Australia needs a 2035 emissions reduction target. Can I get your thoughts on this, Andrew Forrest? Do we need that target? How important is it?
Everyone responds to a target. We all agree on a target. If you don't have a target, look, Iran, Libya, David, they don't have targets, and you can kind of understand why. But Australia is an advanced industrial country. If you think you're going to make any change without a target, well, clearly you don't know anything about how to create change. You've got to start with a target. So if you're waffling on about no target, well, you're really saying absolutely no change. And I say to all those people who don't want targets, well, obviously you don't care about getting Australians competitive with the rest of the world for their own cost of living, and we should be. Every Australian deserves to be.
And a final one, do you see any role for nuclear power in Australia's future?
Look, nuclear to flirt with is kind of fun. I mean, it's been around for about 75 years. I love the way it gets trotted out as a new idea. It's 3 to 4 times more expensive than renewable energy. So if you want to firmed renewable energy, so if you want to condemn your community to high cost of power, have a implementation schedule not in months but in decades, then nuclear is a really great soundbite. And so I say to all the soundbite Sallys, nuclear is just a talking point. Do you know anything about nuclear? Have you ever seen one rolled out? Because we at Fortescue have studied it backwards, and we're going solar and wind. We at Squadron have studied it backwards. We're going solar and wind. Why? Because it's the cheapest cost of power in the world, blows nuclear out of the water. But it's really quite an immature debate.
Andrew Forrest, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, David. Cheers. Great to be with you.